It's been a recent development for me to admit that I'm proud of myself of certain things. And by recent, I mean within the last year or two. Because I got that mamba mentality like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't celebrate until we cross the finish line. We don't celebrate until the timer hits zero. We don't celebrate until we've climbed the mountain, until we succeeded in all the goals and all the things that we set out for. Until then, what are we celebrating? However, I've learned to celebrate the progress, celebrate the journey. Celebrate the small wins because the small wins build up into the big ones. You see? But one of the things I can say I'm very proud of is that I think for myself. I don't care what everyone's screaming at me to do. If it doesn't sit right with me, I'm simply not going to do it. Even though public school is a joke, they did teach us about peer pressure. And I've been very anti-peer pressure my entire life. When you force me to do something, you better do this or else. I'm like, or else what? You know what I'm saying? I always stand up to the authority of peer pressure or any authority. I've always had authority issues. But nevertheless, because God's my only authority. But nevertheless, it's like when people say or else, I'm like, or else what? What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like I could be on a game show, right? And what's a good example, right? I could be on the game show. And the question is, what is something that has four wheels and transports you? People will be like, car, it's a car, it's car, say car. And there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people say car, car, car. But I'm going to sit there for a second. I'll be like, skateboard. Four wheels and it transports you. Skateboard. Correct. And I'm just going to look at y'all like, right? A lot of people flock to what has the most people on it. I could give some dope advice, but I'm a small channel. But a big channel that says the exact same words as me, oh my God, this person's so smart. It's like because people feel more comfortable with the large numbers. I have no problem standing with one, me. And the one is God, the higher powers that be. But nevertheless, me, for lack of a better example, right? It's like I have no problem standing alone. It's like everybody wants you to do things the way that they did it. And if you don't do it the way they did it, you're automatically wrong. And I see this behavior in the religious folk and the spiritual folk because spiritual folk are ex-religious folk and they brought the same bad habits from the religious side over to spirituality, right? Religious people will say, you can't get into heaven unless it's through Jesus. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So what about the uncontacted tribes? God that made everything and knows everything you're going to say, do, say, all this type of stuff. He built them down there knowing that they would meet them. He built them to make them go to hell. That doesn't make sense to me. But then likewise, to get to the next level of spirituality, you have to do this specific ritual and you got to do this spell and you got to spin because the universe is spiritual. So you got to spin clockwise to match the etheric flow so you can rise in elevation like the caduceus up to the fruit that is your pineal gland, my brother. And I'm like, nigga, what? I am not doing spinning and all. I ain't doing all that. You know what I'm saying? All right, bro, but you're going to be doomed to the third dimension. You're going to have to reincarnate if you don't do it. Well, I'm going to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Because the other thing I'm proud of myself is I am willing to accept the consequences of my actions. Consequences are simply the result of a given action. Consequences can be good or bad. If I fuck up, I fucked up. And I have to deal with the consequences of that. But then if I do something my own way and I find success, I deal with those consequences, the positive consequences, and I bask in my success, right? These people on both sides of the aisle can both tell you to do something, but the only one that's going to benefit from that initial practice, that initial belief system, that initial whatever, is you. You have to know why you are doing everything. But that's why I always say, too, that I believe that practices are supposed to be universal. I find it weird that only Christians that believe in this God can get to heaven. That's weird. That makes no sense. Just like, you have to wear this crystal, eat these herbs, and be in this particular ley line to get a spiritual ascension and get downloads. That don't make sense either. That's not universal. That's situational. There's context to some world that doesn't exist that we don't even really know the rules to. We think that we know it down here. No. God is infinite, is he not? Religious people. The universe is infinite. Spiritual people. Okay. So why is it that when we are trying to attain or become one again with the infinite, there is only one way to do it? Now, in a world of infinite possibilities, there's only one way to get to the next level. That makes zero sense. And I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that. You know, your practices, religious, spiritual, whatever, I believe are supposed to be universal. What is it that everybody can do? You know, it's like, I think that meditation is universal. You sit down, you close your eyes, and you clean out your thoughts. That's universal. Now, there are things that are personal for me, crystals, scripting. I think everyone can write, but like, let's just say you don't have hands. You can't get to the higher realms if you don't have hands. That don't make sense. So that's not universal either. There are personal things that you gotta do, but there's also universal stuff. But nevertheless, man, it's like, I'm gonna do what feels right to me. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to deal with anything that comes out from my actions. Like I've been saying recently, it's like when people try to force their opinions on you, I'm just like, yo, y'all need to chill with that. Because all you're doing is pushing people away from how you want them to do it. If you want people to do things the way you do it, you are supposed to be the walking example. That's all I'm supposed to say. Or that's all I'm trying to say. You are supposed to be the example where people are attracted to you, not you forcing them. Force implies that something is fighting against you. Attraction means that like attracts like, and they see what you're doing and they want to get some of the sauce from you. Just my thoughts on the matter. Till the next one.